Welcome, everyone. I would like to welcome you uh, to another interview. I never had him as a student, um, but I wouldn't even say a mentee. He's a blessing. Really, he is. Jonah, Jonah Kim. Uh, we've crossed paths in school, but actually, we technically met at church outside of school. We've had fellowship, and um, I've just been blessed to witness his journey into college. And it was just a big transition period where actually, instead of like a teacher-student relationship, it was just fellowship. And, we just existed alongside each other. And I'm grateful for that. And I have him on here um, because as the kids say, he just exudes good vibes. And there are a lot of things that I found out in passing um, from other people, namely his parents, about what he was interested in. And I seen these things come out in other ways, and he's found his own path. So I would like him to share his wisdom, his insight, and his experience with all of you. So please welcome Jonah Kim. Jonah, it's a prerequisite for you to come on. What you have to do is share your favorite shirt, hoodie, sweatshirt. What do you have for us?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on, Mr. Reese. I appreciate it. Very undeserving, but I'll share this. This is my favorite sweater. I don't know if you can see it. So it's my favorite not because it's representing my school.
Hmm.
Obviously, um, that is a perk, but
Yeah.
I got this. It's a vintage sweater, actually. Um,
Wow.
So I got it at this like pop-up at Cornell, like some vintage pop-up. And um I paid a very hefty amount of money for it that
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of, but it's one of my favorite sweaters.
Yeah.
It's nice casual throw on and it looks good.
I say no shame, man. That value because it has history in it, and you're part of that history. So bro, dude, kudos to you, man. Um, and that's another thing too, is like whenever something I hit a benchmark, treat yourself. Don't not treat yourself. So that's an important benchmark. I'm glad you have that, man. Um, now, Jonah, what are you passionate about? I mean, not just one thing. What are the many things that you're passionate about? Because you have a spectrum of interests.
Yeah.
You're definitely not one dimensional.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I think a lot of people ask me that, namely like in interviews, and I've taken a lot of time to just like think about it. And
Hmm.
honestly, I have not come up with a very definitive answer to what I'm passionate about. It just seems like my passions are constantly changing,
Yeah.
um, and just like super varied. I guess if you want me to get into some of my early passions,
Yeah. Yeah.
say one of the biggest things growing up was definitely hockey. Uh, it was introduced to me through my dad. He played in a church league, actually,
Okay.
um, just recreationally in Seattle when we moved there when I was about one. And then my brother and I both picked it up. Um, I was three, my brother was five. And ever since then, we were playing club hockey, or we were playing, yeah, club hockey
Yeah. Yeah.
growing up, and yeah, competitive hockey. So yeah, that has been one of the biggest
Hmm.
passions. And I would say though, my love for hockey has been very rocky. So it's not a completely stable relationship. When I
Mm.
was younger, much younger,
Mm.
I would like despise going to practice and getting my gear on and going to lessons. But
Yeah.
so I actually quit I quit from my freshman year of high school,
Okay.
um, up until yeah, my junior or up until my senior year. And
Mm,
I was like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot again.
yeah.
And I went back and yeah, I loved it. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I learned anything um during that time, but yeah, it was coming back to hockey, especially senior year,
Mm.
uh, was really, really good. And then obviously I'm pursuing that still at Cornell where I'm playing club hockey. So
Yo, I love that because so I remember after I saw you play soccer, I was like, hold on. There's a couple things. One is like you have coordination. The other thing is you don't flinch. So I first thing I did is when I saw your mom in the hall, it's like, he doesn't flinch. Yeah, he played hockey. I was like, yo, that's where the fearlessness comes from. Like if you can see a hockey puck come at you, you're not gonna be afraid of a soccer ball. And I think I asked you about it. I was like, okay, okay. Um, the reason I'm like nodding my head in agreement is I mean it's tough. Um, where you're introduced to something and you don't know if it belongs to you or not.
mm,
Um, and some time away, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the actual formula is, but I'm glad that you stepped back into it. Um, and it's curiosity, and it was your own. It was your own. So,
yeah.
um,
Um, and
yeah,
the
go ahead.
funny thing is actually during that time that I stopped playing hockey, I was gonna start pursuing soccer because that was another one of the sports that I kind of grew up playing, and then um, yeah, it was something I wanted to pursue. So
I mean,
yeah.
whatever you were about, you're in it and you were smooth with it. I'm serious. And so like if you weren't playing soccer and I saw you skating, I was like, dude, I think he should pursue skating. But I don't think I should tell his parents that. No, because it's just like you were zen, you were in the moment, you know. And I don't when I see people when they do things, it's almost like it's a punishment. And so I just love that you're in that space. So I'm glad you're enjoying whatever you're enjoying. Um, um, and sharing with sharing with us like you don't have to be one dimensional, you know, and some time away might be good for you. Um, so you're at Cornell. Uh, what's your major and how did you get started into that field?
So currently I'm studying hotel administration
Mm,
or hospitality.
yeah.
Um, how did I get started into that? Honestly, it was not really something that I was like going for
Mm,
leading up to high school or leading up to I guess junior year when you're applying to colleges. Um, I was more going the route of mechanical engineering.
oh,
I
okay.
was taking a bunch of the engineering classes, like PLTW, and then the AP physics classes. And also I was in robotics as like doing mechanical engineering. Um, so I was super into that. Um, and most of the schools I applied to were actually mechanical engineering, except for um, Cornell,
Yeah.
which partially was I knew I wasn't going to get into Cornell engineering, or I had better chance at the hotel school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also, it was I had known people who had gone through the hotel school,
Yeah.
and um,
Okay.
so when I was sort of researching what major to apply for Cornell,
Hmm.
um, I called those people up and I asked them. I think it was about like five different people who were in the hotel school. I think it was JJ. Uh, he's just graduated I think last semester,
Okay.
and he was a Valley alumni. I think I called Simran, uh, also Valley alumni, and then I called two other church connections,
Hmm.
um, who are older but went through the hotel school, and
Yeah.
they all had very positive things to say. Um, I honestly business was something that I was a little iffy about going into, but I think now that I've gone through a year
Mm.
or a year and a half of the hotel school, I can say that um this is probably the best place for me to be. I
What?
don't know if I
Yeah.
could have survived being in mechanical engineering, or if that was ever right for me. I'm not sure.
Well, I obviously a light bulb went off. So did you have a light bulb moment where like this is mine or I'm working? Like when you're excited and you just like there's not an infinite amount of energy, but you want to pursue it and you're endlessly curious on trying to solve this problem. Did you have that at Cornell yet?
Um, hmm. I wouldn't say I've had I've had that light bulb moment at Cornell. I would say I've had that definitely in the, I guess, internships and jobs that I've had through either through Cornell or within like the hospitality field.
That's awesome.
And that sort of was what drew me in was it sort of started with my first job at McDonald's in junior year of high school.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
So I was like a McDonald's cashier, and
Yeah.
this is actually what I wrote about in my application essay for the hotel school. It was this McDonald's experience.
Yeah.
Obviously McDonald's, we're not known for the greatest service or you know, the most quality atmosphere. It's more like grab and go, get your food.
Yeah.
Um, but something that really I think made me fascinated about or about the restaurant and hospitality industry was the way that like the McDonald's team, or at least that
Mm.
management, felt like a family.
Whoa.
So I don't know, just some things to point out. I literally every time I went to work,
Yeah.
I got sick.
Huh.
So because of the grease, like the smell of the fries and the oil
Yeah.
in the
Whoa.
McDonald's was just so bad that I never left a shift without like feeling like I needed to throw up. And one particular day, I had a what did I have for lunch? We had a free, so we get free meals
Yeah. Yeah.
from McDonald's, obviously. And I had some like spicy chicken sandwich. It wasn't the McChicken, but
Mhm.
that doesn't really matter. And right as my shift was about to end, as we were closing, I like almost just completely yacked. I
Whoa.
was feeling horrible. I like I had to sit down, and then all my like coworkers, like none of them were annoyed. They were all just like completely supportive and
Wow.
grabbing me like, oh, here's some sparkling water. Why don't you just take a seat outside or something? And that was sort of what kind of sparked my love for the hospitality industry. Um, yeah.
What a way, what an atmosphere for a business, for a squad. Like,
Yeah.
um, imagine not being afraid of bosses, colleagues. Imagine the work that you could do
Hmm.
despite the product.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides McDonald's, besides hockey, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned like surveying like people who went to Cornell for that experience. Um,
Hmm.
what do you say is a pivotal moment in your life that has shaped you to where you are right now?
Hmm. Pivotal moment of my life.
Mm,
Um, Honestly, I wouldn't say that I've had such a drastic pivotal moment yet.
mm,
I would say, yeah, right now, definitely one of them was getting into Cornell. Obviously
Hmm. Yeah.
that changed like my life and sort of like my life trajectory completely, because if I had not gone into Cornell, I would have probably just gone mechanical engineering at some other school. So I guess looking back, that was one moment that definitely changed my life.
Mm.
And then I would say looking into the future, joining ROTC,
Mm.
NROTC is going to be a huge change that I'm very, very looking forward to.
So what was the thought process behind that? When did you make that decision?
I made that decision literally about 2 weeks before break.
Oh, wow.
So I think early December, right around like final study period. So not the greatest timing,
Mm.
but um yeah, uh, that's when I made that decision.
Now, in regards to solving problems, um, when you're encountering something new, as you've encountered something new at Cornell, actually, and this is me being reflective, when I saw you in person, whether we're doing soccer or um, at church, uh, you're very contemplative. I know, you're not agreeable, you're open-minded, right? And you're processing, you're very critical. Um, so as you encounter college and you're entering into new courses every term, um, what is your process in solving problems? And if there's so many different like facets to an issue, how do you determine what is true? Especially if you have your own preconceived notions.
Hmm. Yeah. I think for me personally, whenever I go into something, I always like to consult people. That's like one of my biggest things. If it's a class, a new class, I'll be like, I'll call up a friend who has taken that class or might know somebody who has taken that class. Um, I like to do like the Google search, the Reddit search, or rate my professor
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just to see for myself. But
yeah.
I very much value other people's opinions and comments regarding new things that I'm going into.
King Solomon said, "A wise man seeks counsel." Um, what's the future? I mean, I don't know what you've encountered at, Cornell or your internships or jobs. So, what does the future of hospitality look like?
Um, yeah, right now I think hospitality right now is a little stuck in tradition.
Okay.
Um, so I would say hotels and restaurants
Mm,
could see a lot of innovation, especially just drawing back from my obviously I'm not a hospitality expert. This
yeah,
is
yeah,
what I'm studying, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not entirely well versed in this, but from my past experience, I did an internship last summer at the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay,
Hmm.
and this was at their fine dining restaurant Navio. I was just like a food and beverage intern, which was a glorified position for basically server assistant.
Yeah.
Um, but it was pretty incredible. I learned a lot of things about the restaurant industry and how a fine dining restaurant operates. And I would say, yeah, you can tell that there's a lot of things that are rooted in tradition that could use a lot of innovation. Um, and so I mean, we see companies in the hospitality sector kind of going towards this innovative like area. But I think like I can't quite put a name on everything,
Hmm.
but just point out like a couple things, like uh the the micro system for restaurants, I think could be upgraded.
Mhm.
There's a lot of areas where like within like restaurant operation where you can have it more automated, um, better integrated with technology. Uh, in the hotel side, I think a huge area that can be, I guess, made more efficient is the cleaning and linen service. Um, it doesn't really make sense for housekeepers to be redoing beds like constantly, especially with like environmental issues and sustainability. Um, so yeah, I think just to point out a couple,
No, no,
I'm
that's
sure I glazed over a lot of.
no, no, you're 100% uh because then we'd be micromanaging. But no, you're 100% correct because my mom on top of being a janitor cleaned hotels and the redundancy, even if they're already clean rooms, we just do it just to kill time
Yeah.
and no one's keeping track. And yeah, no, actually, you're 100% right in terms of especially accounting issues. Um, in terms of, and you've shared a lot about overcoming and pivoting, and I don't like to use the word failures, but how do you handle stumbling blocks? How do you turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones?
Hmm. Um, how am I handling failure? That's a good question. I guess just keep moving on.
Mm,
I honestly haven't, or when I'm in a position of where I feel like I've failed or I feel like I've
mm,
hit a block, um, I obviously like to talk to somebody
yeah.
about it. Um, whether it be just like walking into my friend's dorm room and just laying down in the middle of his floor and just like, I don't know, talking, or calling my parents and
Mm,
asking them for advice. Um, but yeah, I think for me it's been just keep moving forward, and uh I guess new opportunities will arise.
yeah, yeah. Again, I think that's sort of probably the theme of uh you being on the show is like, folks, if you're paying attention, consulting, you have a support group too. You don't do it alone. Don't stay in your own head. And it's not a bad thing to talk with your parents, you know. Um, they're available to, I'm speaking to everyone as an orphan. I don't have that opportunity. So if you have one or if you have both, um, you have a support system. Thank you so much for that, Jonah. Uh, now that you know what you know, uh, in your major, what piece of advice would you give to someone starting in your field to give them a head start if they were in high school? Would you recommend them working in McDonald's? What do you recommend?
Um, yeah, it really depends. Hospitality field is pretty huge, so
Okay.
you can go a lot of different routes, whether it be restaurant operations, hotel operations, could be accounting, private people going to private equity, and real estate is huge, like hospitality real estate, and uh, so I don't know. I guess I can't really give advice for all of those areas, but I'd
Yeah.
say for someone who's going into more of like an operations area,
Mm,
yeah, get out there and just take some minimum wage job, at any restaurant, or it doesn't need to be minimum wage.
yeah.
Just go out there and get some experience, because that's what the hotel school, especially at Cornell,
Yeah.
values is that extracurricular experience, and um more so like emphasis on EQ rather than than IQ.
I mean, that's why I'm taking notes. And I literally said a couple times before when you were talking about your McDonald's experience, actually, was like get your feet on the ground, get your boots on the ground, be
Yeah.
on the front lines. Because again, especially if you end up working in management, right, or administration, um, your employees will appreciate it because they know you're with them. Uh,
Mhm.
so how are you balancing work and personal life? I mean, in the beginning, I heard, yeah, you got it back into sports and you shared with hockey. So, what is your routine? Do you have a routine now? Are you good?
Routine. Sort of. Yeah, I've been um well, I mean, given my personality and all the different things I like doing, uh I guess my whole freshman year was just a mess. I was
Hmm.
going and doing a bunch of different stuff,
Yeah.
but a good mess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that looked like, I mean, I tried, I was taking like Taekwondo class. Um, and then I joined Club Taekwondo, and I'm still into Club Taekwondo actually.
Yo.
So that's one of the things that I had zero prior experience. I mean, maybe
Mm.
like my dad did Taekwondo and his dad, and so I sort of grew up knowing that like, oh, maybe there's some in my blood, but
What? All right. Sorry, folks. We had technical difficulties. Jonah, you were talking about Taekwondo. It's in your blood.
oh yeah. Yeah, so Taekwondo, I didn't really have any experience going in,
Ah,
like
okay.
I said. But I joined this class and I signed up for the club, and yeah, it's really fun. Uh I've learned a lot already, gone to a couple tournaments,
Okay.
barred. Um I have
That's not fair. You have hockey experience, man. Like you don't flinch.
nah,
Okay,
nah.
tell us what
Yeah.
happened.
In sparring?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sparring. I mean, I've done, let's see, four tournaments now. Uh, I was holding, obviously, I'm like a yellow belt right now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
they do sparring in like different classes
Okay.
or different like levels. So depending on like belt level, you'll spar within that grouping.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I'm not sparring black belts, but I was doing pretty well right off the bat. Um, luckily, I guess. I think I was like uh 6-0 until literally last tournament where I won I think I won two and then lost two.
Hmm.
And that was really sad for me because I was like, oh, my winning streak is over. But I
Yeah.
knew it had to happen. I wasn't at all like extremely good at Taekwondo, but
Yeah. Hey, when you come back, I'll give you sparring lessons, man.
awesome.
I
Awesome.
got a couple taekwondo mitts, and then I'll teach
Okay.
you a couple of tricks, man. I got
Oh,
you. I got you.
cool.
Dude,
Cool.
6-0?
No, no, it's nothing. It's really like in the C team, which is like my belt level. Um, it's just you go out there, they say start, and
Hmm.
then you just start kicking each other.
I
Like
know, I
there's
know, I know.
no thought to no strategy. Like it kind of pisses me off. Like I'm out there and I'm like trying to gauge what this guy's gonna do, and then he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
goes out and like just throwing kicks constantly.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
I
what
know.
it's like in the C team.
So, what the what is a book that you've read, doesn't matter from when, that has impacted you?
Hmm. A book that I've read that's impacted me. Oh, it's funny that you bring up books
Mm.
because growing up I was like so into books. I was like a huge reader, but only fiction.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and that has honestly stayed the same. I One of my like biggest goals this year is to be or is to start reading more nonfiction books because for some reason I can't like finish nonfiction books very easily. It's not that I am not interested in the subject.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. When I'm reading fiction, like my whole like I lose like my sense of time and like any like sense of surroundings. Like I
Yeah.
used to read in this is in yeah, like third or fourth grade
Yeah.
at like the Valley campus or
Yeah.
I used to read during pickup
Wow.
um and I used to get yelled at because I would not get up when my name was called because I was reading a book because I could not hear it. I clearly remember being so angry um because I kept getting yelled at for not getting up when my name was called. But I don't know, I was just very invested in these books. Um
Let me know the name of that teacher. Let me edify them. No, go
okay.
ahead.
Maybe perhaps outside of this podcast I
Yeah,
would say the
yeah.
name. Um but I don't want to incriminate anyone here.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh yeah, so one book that's tough. It's got to be a fictional book then
Mm.
because I would say I'm not I don't remember very many nonfiction books. Um hmm. I feel like I'd have to look at the books I've read, but
Hmm.
one book that comes up to me right now, that is kind of an interesting book, is Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr.
Dr.
Seuss.
Seuss. Yeah.
Um, not a highly like scholarly regarded book,
But yeah,
but one of the most beautiful books
yes.
that I've read.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of just, I mean, amazing artwork, uh, just like simple words.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, it just like sort of takes you on a journey. And it was, I guess, where was I introduced to this? Obviously, like growing up, you'll read Dr. Seuss books, but I think like the first time I read it and I was like, whoa, this is interesting, is my parents were giving this book away. I think they used to give it a lot
Hmm.
um to like kids who are graduating
Yeah.
or um I'm sure it's like a very common
Yeah.
graduation
For
gift.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know that book kind of stands out to me.
Because I mean, when you get older, every year when you read it, you're like, ah, okay, this means a little bit more now.
Yeah, yeah.
It means a little bit more. Um, how how do you define success? When do you learn to let go? When do you give yourself a pat on the back and say enough is enough? Like for instance, maybe whether it's a project or let's say a paper where you're
Mm,
like, I'm done. I'm done looking at this.
yeah. I don't know. I think I struggle with that
Hmm.
a bit.
Yeah.
Definitely like one of the things that has been pretty prominent in my life growing up is that I've been very much a perfectionist, but not like
So
Sorry, did I cut out there?
yeah, you cut out. So we're back to you're not a perfectionist. There we go.
Yeah. Not a functional perfectionist, I would say.
Okay.
Uh a perfectionist that I guess like admittedly like I will not try something or like not continue with something
Mhm.
in fear that I won't
Ooh,
like do well enough.
wow.
So yeah, that's something that I've like struggled with a lot in my
Mhm.
life. And honestly, like having so many different interests uh is also like kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah.
It's like I've always wanted to be I've actually always wanted to be a single focused, like single faceted person. I don't know. I've just like always admired people who are just like, oh, I can do this. I
Mm,
love doing this,
mm.
and I can just like master it. But something that I've like, yeah, struggled with, I guess, is that perfectionist mindset. Um, and what was the original question again? I'm sorry.
Oh no. So how do you define success? When do you know enough is
Ah,
enough?
okay.
Like when you let go?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess defining success has been pretty hard for me.
Mm,
Uh, and I don't know, I wouldn't say I have a perfect answer
mhm,
or um or even like a I guess preliminary answer if that I don't know if
no,
that's the right word. But
no. Yeah.
I don't know if I can answer that because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure where I would or how I would define that.
Well, I what I from my perspective and as many uh people that I've met in my life, um, a lot of people aren't self-aware. So the fact that you're very self-aware, I would consider that successful. You know what works, and even though you can't articulate, you can't like this is the pinpoint. The fact that you went back to hockey, right? Um, or the fact that you saw a win out of working at McDonald's, that seeing the glass, I don't even say half full, but overflowing, um, that makes everything, especially when you're about to give up and you feel lost, because we're all gonna wander. Um,
Mhm.
so give yourself a pat on the back, Jonah. I'm telling you, man. I'm glad you went back and finding taekwondo. Um, and hopefully I have a role in you taking over the tournament scene and let me know if you need a manager or agent, okay? I
Of
won't
course.
take 10%. I'll just record the videos and make sure they go viral.
Of
Um,
course.
do you see, you don't have to bring this up, you as a college student, do you see any issues in terms of ethics with ChatGPT in your school in AI? Or do they talk
Mm.
about it? Or how do they implement ChatGPT? What's it looking like for you over there?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when it first came out,
Mm,
and like people were first using it, I think a lot of the teachers were definitely a lot of the teachers were scared. So we had like a lot of precautions.
okay.
And now I feel like teachers mostly have adapted in
Mm,
terms of like they'll offer tests that at least the ones that I'm taking that you can't really chat GPT.
okay.
Maybe you can chat GPT like the final project
Okay.
or um like some like small assignments.
Hmm.
But the tests that I've taken um have been pretty good in like avoiding like mass cheating. Um, but in terms of like ethics of ChatGPT,
Hmm.
I guess uh a lot of people see it from the standpoint of it as a tool,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'd,
Yeah.
I'd say I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, I've used it numerous times just to like brainstorm
Hmm.
things or even just explain concepts.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, actually, a lot of the classes I took last semester were not like I couldn't use ChatGPT for them or
Oh,
even to
okay.
explain because like I don't know, like managerial accounting and finance were just not did not ChatGPT did not do it well enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um I guess something that kind of segues from that area
Hmm.
is the ethics of like um kind of like image generation, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a class last semester called Fashion Computer Aided Design, and this was just like a completely uh like not obviously not a core class for
Yeah.
hotel
Yeah. Yeah.
school. And just like completely extracurricular and just something that I wanted to do as like a free elective. Um, I don't know. I like to take classes, just interesting classes. So yeah, this last semester I took fashion computer aided design. Um, it was very interesting. It was more so on like computer aided design, less so on in the fashion sense,
Hmm.
but more like just design area. And we had like an area or a section on like using I can't remember. It wasn't Dolly, it was the I don't know, one of the image generation
Hmm.
tools. And yeah, we had we had some like researcher guy uh have us like conduct surveys on us based off of like, oh, what did we think about using the tool and for like generating mood
Hmm.
boards or generating um sort of like brainstorming ideas for design projects. It was pretty interesting. I think I don't totally grasp it well enough
Yeah.
to have like a definitive opinion on it,
Yeah.
but I can see where AI
Mm,
and um like generative AI can be helpful in um sort of like aiding people's like design
mm,
or processes in general. Um, but then again, there's that whole thing like, oh, you're taking uh I guess the content from
yeah.
previous creators or something. But I guess that's sort of different from ChatGPT, but it goes hand in hand with the AI.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It's that's cool that, and this is why I've heard from other guests too. Is like when you're out in the field, I mean, we're civilians, like, we're not there, and you're hearing, oh, research is being conducted, surveys. You're literally at the front end of the comment because there's no hindsight, there's no feedback loop. Like we are beginning the feedback loop.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't know what the implications are going to be. Uh,
Mhm.
how how do you stay motivated and focused?
Hmm. How do I stay motivated and focused? Uh, are you asking like in terms of schoolwork or in terms of, I guess, everything?
Everything, yeah.
Hmm. I I mean, it definitely varies depending
Mm,
on what I'm doing. Obviously for schoolwork,
yeah.
motivation has always been like keep yourself at like a high or keep yourself at a standard,
Mm,
you know. Perform to the best of your abilities
yeah.
or to what you see fit, you know. My parents were or they did stress that I get good grades,
Yeah, yeah.
but they weren't like the so-called like tiger parents that
Yeah.
would be like, oh, you have to get this, like have to get A plus or something.
Yeah.
So it was more of like just hold yourself to a high standard
Mm,
and um and I guess perform to the best of your abilities, and your grades will not suffer, hopefully. So that has been keeping me going. Obviously, I haven't really had like huge struggles in schoolwork.
okay,
Hotel
good.
school is not known to be the hardest in terms of curriculum,
Yeah.
um, and schoolwork, but motivation outside of school is another area that I'm like trying to work on.
Mm,
And definitely one of like the biggest steps forward that I've taken to sort of solve that issue that I have is ROTC,
mm,
or Navy ROTC.
yeah.
And so hopefully, it'll bring a little bit more discipline into my life,
Mm,
or a little bit more self-discipline.
yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm.
what I've seen is, I don't know, take my advice with a grain of salt. I know it's not even advice, but what I've witnessed of you is, um, I wish you were a bit more selfish. Uh, but um, I think that's what's happening to you wandering, figuring out what you like. But I will say, whether it's playing soccer and like sharing and seeing other people who aren't, because we had people that aren't as athletic, and you are bringing them into the game, like, or just bringing people along, and having that fellowship. You had endless energy. I think that's going to be perfect. No, that's perfect for ROTC. I think Taekwondo is really interesting because that's very individual. So
Mm,
that's tough. Um,
yeah.
what's a misconception people have had about you? Um, whether, or it could be about when you were in high school, or what's a misconception people think about hospitality management? You could pick either one.
Mm, okay. I think uh I would say the biggest misconception about me currently
Mm,
is that I have it all together.
huh.
I think everybody looks at me from like or not everybody, but like
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of like my parents, friends, kids,
Yeah.
they'll look at me from like a purely like book standpoint, like, oh, he's in Cornell, he's uh plays sports,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know what else, but and they just assume that,
Mm,
I don't know, that like everybody at that, or in that position has it all together.
yeah.
But I think really like one of the biggest things I've learned throughout this last semester is that like life is, this is going to be cliche, but like
Mm-mm.
life is like such a journey. It's like I don't know how to put it into words very well, or like poetically, but um it's not like, it can't be like stereotyped very easily. Everyone's life is so individual to them that um like there's no one path that everyone can follow. I think that everyone has their own path. And so I don't really like when people like look at me and they're just like, "Oh wow, you're at Cornell, like you're doing so well." But
Mm,
they don't realize that in reality, like I am very lucky and very blessed to have gone into
mm.
Cornell. I wasn't even admitted in like I ED'd, and I wasn't admitted in ED. I got deferred. I
Uh,
wrote a letter of continued interest,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I got accepted. Um, and so I don't know, it's just that's one of the biggest, I guess, misconceptions. Um,
Thank you for sharing that, man. How do you handle criticism or disagreement, or feedback that you've gotten from professors?
hmm. Um, From professors
or anyone actually?
or okay. Honestly, not as well as I could. I'm not the greatest with criticism.
Mm,
Um, I'm not sure. I guess partially because I'm very emotionally invested in like everything that I do.
yeah,
So I don't I don't know. It's hard for me to take criticism lightly.
yeah,
Um, but I'd say, how do I take criticism from? If it's very like constructive and worded and
mm,
phrased in a very constructive way, then yeah, I can take it like well,
yeah,
and obviously the world would be so much nicer if everyone was able to give like constructive criticism.
yeah.
Um, but I think, yeah, I don't know how I don't know how I would best answer that question. Uh, I guess, yeah, not as well as I should be, but I'm working on it.
I mean, you answered. I mean, and you know how to pivot. You do. You've been pivoting. That's why you're on the path you're on right now. So, um, right now, is there any idea or concept that you've came across in class or a job or internship that gets you really excited, or even ROTC? Is there anything that just like gets you hyped up?
Hmm. Um, hmm. Right now, I think ROTC in general is getting me very hyped up.
Mm,
I don't know, the thought of just like pushing myself
mm,
to the limit, I don't know, just getting out there and being up early and uh, you know, having a more strict regimen throughout my
mm,
day, uh, is very enticing. I I've like I know a couple um veterans that I've talked to,
yeah.
uh, who are like sort of guiding me through the process of applying.
Mm,
And yeah, they're just through their feedback and their experiences, I'm very excited to start that. And I'll be starting it soon, like as soon as I get back, which
yo,
is a couple weeks. So,
that's gonna be cool. So, how do you approach? This is a perfect transition. How do you approach learning something new? How have you been approaching learning? Because you had different classes that are not in your major too. Um,
mhm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me when I'm learning something new, obviously consulting people, which we've talked about
yeah, yeah.
for a long time, and then asking questions, which also goes with consulting people. And yeah, I guess I can draw from experience here. Uh, ROTC. So when I applied or when I walked in, I
Mm,
literally walked into the Naval ROTC office with no, like, I didn't email them, I didn't set up an appointment. I rang the doorbell and I said, look, I'm interested in applying.
yeah,
Uh, is there somebody I could talk to for that?
yeah,
And so I didn't really know what I needed to get myself to, like what requirements
yeah.
were needed. And naturally they outlined it, uh, which is like pretty tough physical fitness standards. Um, so they have what is called the Marine PFT,
Mm,
uh, and that's like the physical fitness test,
okay, yeah.
the main physical fitness test that Marines take like yearly, I'm pretty sure. And then, so for that, they were sort of outlining what it was. It was your maximum pull-ups
Okay.
and then max uh plank and then a 3 mile run. So, and then, so I was like already listening to that and I was like, oh, this sounds tough. Um, and I don't know, even for me, I never really ran 3 miles.
Huh,
Like
yeah.
that's kind of a lot. Usually it's like a 1 mile or 1.5 mile run
Yeah.
test. But 3 miles is like that's gonna be like almost 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And um obviously the gunnery sergeant was like, you want to score the highest
Yeah.
that you can possibly score. And the perfect scores are 20 pull-ups,
Ooh,
a 3-minute 45-second plank, and an 18-minute 3 mile run.
okay.
So 6-minute mile pace. And I was like, this is gonna be like almost impossible for me. And so I guess when you're going back to like your question on approaching new things,
Yeah.
this was like pretty like new standards that I had to set for myself.
Yeah.
And so going into this break, I knew I have to start training.
Mm,
And I have to start like preparing for this. Even though like my last PFT will be in October,
yeah.
but I have to like start preparing now
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in order to get there. And yeah, I guess what I did um starting was I asked for any like materials or resources that I could find. I got like a workout plan from
Wow.
the gunnery sergeant for the pull-ups. And then I got some crazy workout plan from one of my friends who was a veteran.
Okay.
And then uh I sort of just like started, I don't know, planning out what workouts were gonna work for me
Hmm.
and um sort of when I was gonna start. Uh and yeah, I've been running pretty consistently, I'd say. I actually just ran with Matthew. I ran with Matthew today, 6 miles. And this was like, oh my gosh, it was like raining and freezing. We didn't know the weather was going to be so bad, but we ran like up and down some mountain. Um, I think in Santa Teresa.
Okay.
Um, so I've been running and doing this like Armstrong pull-up program pretty consistently and working out in addition. So I guess that's sort of how I approached that new thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
came across to me.
I mean, what an evolution from what you're talking about, what, figuring out what you're passionate about, all these other things, and now your own benchmark for something new. It's so concrete. The PFT, like that, that's a
Yeah.
big leap. That's a really mature leap. That's amazing, man. Um, what's a question that you wish people would ask themselves more often?
Hmm. What's a question that I wish people would ask themselves more often? Let me think about this.
Yeah.
Um, you're hitting me with some hard questions here. These are some real thought provokers. I should have like prepared for this.
There's no preparation. Hey, everyone's in the same boat as you.
I know. I feel like I could,
Take your time.
man. Question. Okay. I think I got it. One of the questions that has like come up recently for me uh is and I think is something that everyone needs to think about
Mm,
is obviously it's very broad, but what do I believe?
Mm,
And kind of to explain that a little bit better, I think like there comes a point in time where you're old enough that you realize like, do I really believe in what I've grown up believing? Or like,
mm,
do I really like, do I hold this as my truth? And one of the big things was Christianity. And this was something that I'm still thinking about, and I'm still like struggling through and asking questions and hopefully reading about.
yeah, yeah,
But it's because I grew up in the church. I grew up, my parents always took me to church on Saturdays. I grew up Seventh Day Adventist. I don't know if you are familiar with that, or
yeah. I am. Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
the viewers are familiar with that. It's just a branch of Christianity
yeah,
that worships on Saturday.
yeah,
That's pretty generalized, but there aren't many like huge differences between that and
yeah.
your common like Protestant Christian. Um, but yeah, I think this this whole like time I've been in college, it was like this question has come up quite a
Mm,
bit
yeah,
because there are a lot of things in college that like a lot of temptations, lots of and a lot of mistakes.
yeah,
Everyone makes lots of mistakes in college, I think.
yeah,
Um, but and I'm definitely no stranger to that.
yeah,
Um, and so naturally, one of the biggest things that comes up for me is like, do I actually believe in what I've grown up to believe?
mm,
You know, and I think like for me, I've put it off. I feel like I've put it off in high school, or maybe I just wasn't mature enough to like think about it. But I think it's definitely something that you need to come to terms with. Uh, and yeah, it's a huge thing that, and obviously like with Christianity, it'll drive like your entire motivation, like you're so it's a big question and something I'm still thinking about still. Yeah.
that's a good question, man. No, that's an excellent question. Um, but you, you obviously are processing profound things, and you don't think profound things if you're not thinking of changing things around you. Just like how you mentioning what you see systems with parts of the hospitality industry that need change. Um, and not just that, I see you, the way you take care of your friends, you make it into a fellowship. You don't let people stay basic, right? You take care of them, you make sure they're involved. Um, Again, I, you're humble. So, um, I don't think you see yourself as a mover or shaker, but you do. Um, so how do you see major wise or serving? How do you want to impact society in the future?
Hmm. That's tough. I think a lot of people would say that they want to make some sort of huge
Mm,
impact, some sort of like leave some lasting legacy. And me, I would say not so much.
mm,
I don't really want to, or that's not like my drive for success. I think for me, what I want to, I guess, leave is I want to leave with a by being able to like come to terms with myself.
Ooh,
I want to like I want to be confident in myself and um just be able to I don't know how to put this. I'm like losing the words right now, but yeah, I just like come to terms with
yeah,
myself
yeah.
first. And then I can worry about like what I want to do for or like how I can impact others because I think at this point like if I'm not comfortable with myself and if I'm not
Mm,
uh confident in what I believe, then it doesn't make sense to impact other people because I can't there's no like real truth that I hold on to.
bars. That's more than fair. That's more than fair. Um, and leaning on what you're going towards, especially what you said about ROTC, and you have those concrete goals. I remember someone saying actually this past weekend, um, it by the end of all this, right? By the end of all our lives, by the end of life, uh, we don't have regrets for what we've done. We have regrets of what we've haven't done, right? Like everything that you tried, every mistake, right? Because we all make mistakes, just like you said, and I 100% agree. Um, we actually don't regret. I mean, maybe we could have made a better choice, but at least we went through that, right? But
Mm.
it is what we don't do, right? And if we don't take that chance to see what we're made of, um, that is what we regret. You have a lot of goals from what I've heard. PFT, hitting that mark. I think graduating is
Oh yeah.
is a goal. What's other than that? What's a dream or a goal you're currently working towards? Actually, are you
Mm.
working towards a black belt? Is that a goal too to get your black belt?
I honestly don't think I would be able to get
Okay,
that. I
just
would
curious.
like it,
Yeah.
but um I mean we'll see.
Okay.
I'm working towards I guess in Taekwondo I'm working towards just being better. Being able to spar better. Certainly flexibility is my hugest issue in Taekwondo. And I think coming from hockey, you're not like the most flexible.
Yeah.
And like we had some like yoga thing for for hockey. We had some yoga session with a Cornell yoga instructor
Yeah.
for our club hockey team. And I just like look around and we're all so inflexible. It's embarrassing. Like it's really horrible. And so that translates so badly to Taekwondo because I cannot like kick high.
Oh,
And it's all about like being able to be flexible and fast and accurate. But
hmm.
I guess that's one of the biggest goals is increase my flexibility. Um, again, PFT, um, and then looking forward into the Marine Corps, uh, I would like to be a recon officer,
Okay.
recon officer, which is sort of like reconnaissance is or force reconnaissance. Force reconnaissance is like um sort of like a sector in the infantry,
Mm.
which is more like geared towards special like I wouldn't say it's not special operations,
Yeah.
but it is definitely like Like the people in force reconnaissance are held to that super high
Yeah.
standard,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're like performing. And that's where I'd want to be. Like I want to go through all the schools, like jump school, dive school, SEER school. Um, and I want to like put myself through that, um, and see what what I come out as. Um, so that's one of my big goals. And then I have this like plan out. Um, if I like it, if I like being a recon
Yeah.
officer, I want to go into MARSOC, which is the Marine Special Operations
Okay.
Command,
Okay.
um, and become a officer. Um, so
That's fire. That's fire. I can't help with any of that, but I can help you with Taekwondo. So, but you're gonna hate me, man. I mean,
oh
obviously, yeah, but you're gonna hate me. You can become flexible, but I get it though too. Those it's different muscles, different twitch muscles,
oh
everything.
yeah,
In
it's
Korean, we say "jijo" there. We have to cut it, dude. You're gonna have to rip.
yeah, it's gonna be tough, but hopefully I'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Go ahead.
Any other goals? I guess. Yeah, personally, it's just like figuring out, or I think I wouldn't say figuring out my truth because I feel like nobody really figures it out.
Mm,
It's constantly like we're constantly evolving. You're constantly like learning. Um, but I think just like taking more steps towards uh being confident in my beliefs.
mm,
That's one of the biggest goals that I have personally.
yeah. All right, we're closing down to the last four questions. These next three are pretty existential, so get ready. All right,
Okay.
what is anxiety?
What is anxiety? Oh man, these are some tough questions. Um, okay. Anxiety. Man, I don't know how I would be able to define this without leaving something out, you know? I think I feel like okay, hold up. I'm gonna look up what the strict definition of anxiety is.
Go ahead.
We can go off of that. All right, anxiety. A feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome.
Mm,
Hmm. Okay. Imminent event. Yeah, I think, yeah, to me, anxiety is, well, it's obviously a fear.
mm,
And
yeah.
it's, hmm, I don't know. I don't know if I am in any position to answer this question. I feel like I'm not really a guru on psychology, but I guess to me, anxiety comes up in a lot of areas where I am uncertain.
Mm, yeah.
Um, I guess like I'm not sure, and I guess this goes with that like feeling of like perfectionist like mentality. Uh, it's like I don't know if I can do this,
Mm,
or I don't know if like I have what it takes, you know, and that is sort of like the feeling of anxiety to me. Um, it's like that feeling of inadequacy or yeah, I guess like concern or worry,
mm.
just like I don't think I can measure up. I guess that's how I would define
That's
it for
that's 100. That's one. That's 100. Next question. What is love?
what is love.
It could be platonic, romantic, but what is love?
Hmm. Dang, that's such a tough question. Love, oh man, I don't know how I would define love. Love is so multifaceted. It's like, um, I mean, obviously you learn that there are different types of love,
Mm,
like uh platonic and or I don't remember the different types, but I just remember agape is one of them. Um, what is love? Well, from a biblical standpoint, God is love, right? Um, and and I don't know, I don't know how, dang, that is such a tough question to answer. Um, let me think. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I can answer this question because I I feel like I would need to it's a concept that or it's a thing that's so multifaceted that it, I wouldn't do it justice by putting it into my own words. I guess that's the best way I can word it. I would not do love justice by putting it into the words of Jonah Kim. Uh so yeah, maybe I'll get back to you on that
yeah,
in the next episode.
fair deal. Fair deal. Actually, believe it or not, bars, because before the Greeks came up with the word agape, because the other definitions of love, they thought there's still more to love, that they couldn't do it justice. To use your own words, that they just came up with this word agape that covers everything. Um,
That was not intentional, but
no, it was an honest answer. That's what the Greek philosophers came up with. Um, two more questions. What is the meaning of life?
what is the meaning of life? Man, I don't think anyone has asked me that. Um, what is the meaning of life? Or I don't think anyone has unironically asked me that.
Mm,
So that is something to think about. Yeah, I don't know if again I'm in the right position to say that I know the meaning of life because I have no idea. But I think that in a in in a part is like part of the meaning of life is the unknown, like asking questions and figuring things out. And whether it be asking questions to people around you or just like even introspectively looking and asking those big questions for yourself. I think to me right now, the meaning of life is figuring out yourself and just I don't know. Yeah, that's all I could say about that, I think.
I, you know what? I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm going to put your own words in your mouth. I think your initial response and everything you responded afterwards was very on point. you literally said the first words is that's something to think about. I think that is a good response too. Um, Last and not least, what advice would you give to young people, especially high school students, especially high school seniors?
I would say my biggest thing, or one of my biggest things, is just don't feel like you're behind,
Mm,
or don't be afraid to get out there and just like try different things. There's no one path, and everyone's just going to be, I think, yeah, everyone has a unique path that they'll follow. So don't overly compare yourself, but also don't not compare yourself at all, because then I feel like you won't really get anywhere.
mm,
Um, but just don't feel afraid, because I think I remember in my senior year,
mm,
before I got an acceptance to Cornell, because I didn't have very many good options.
mm,
Cornell was the reach school for me.
wow.
I still have no idea how I got in. Um, and uh yeah, I just remember feeling at that point like lost, you know. A
Yeah.
lot of people around you, they're just like,
Mm,
oh, especially at Valley.
yeah.
You have people who just are rock stars and know what they're gonna do, and um are just completely crushing it out there and pursuing that. Um and great for them.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not like that for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
be don't feel left out and don't feel behind. I think that's my advice for seniors right now in high school.
right. And that's wonderful advice. And this has been a blessing. Thank you so much, Jonah. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
vulnerable and presenting great insight. Believe it or not, you're answering deep questions um, the way I believe we all would respond. So thank you so much. And keep asking the question, everyone, what do I believe? Because we're all on this journey and um, we all need to think. We all need to think. All right, everyone. And we look forward to having Jonah on again next time. Thank you, Jonah. All right.